The last time we left off, it was with number 4. We were talking about the ruler must rule with a strong punishing hand, and it worked for legalists. You have to think about it. If the repercussions of not following the rule of law are harsh, you're less likely to break any of those rules. Number 5. War is the means of strengthening a ruler's power. So continually fighting, you're absorbing more people, you're absorbing more land, you're gaining more resources. So therefore, you're strengthening your overall power. An authoritarian type of ruler, they're looking for people, they're looking for citizenry to simply obey the power of the authority. They're not looking for individual freedom. They don't care about that. They just want simple, blind faith that their ruler will do what is best for their people. So the ruler, metaphorically, cracks his whip on the backs of his subjects, making sure they stay in line and do what they're supposed to do, forcing them either with to labor or anything else. All right, Lao Tzu. It's not Lao Tzu, it's Lao Tzu. So this is the founder of Taoism, or that's who we attribute to being the founder of Taoism. We're not exactly sure when he died. We think roughly he was born in 604 BCE. Lao Tzu simply means old master. Some people will say that he's Confucius's teacher. However, the timeline doesn't add up that well when we look at dates. So their main book is the Dao De Jing. This is kind of like their holy book, if you will. But keep in mind, this is one of the ways of thought. So it's not really a religion per se, but it's a more of a way how to act, how to interact with people. So the way and its power is what it translates to. Just like the Tao or the Tao, it also means simply the way you're supposed to do things, the correct way. Now, some of the major Taoist principles. Number 1 is the first cause of the universe, the Tao. It is a force that flows through everything. So if you've ever watched Star Wars, for example, what do you have there? With midichlorians, all of that. I don't know if you're as big of a Star Wars nerd as I am, but so the force, kind of like the way they describe the force. It's something that flows through everything, whether it's a rock, whether it's a person, a tree, the planet. It's this force that we have. So the Tao. Number 2, a believer's goal is to become one with the Tao, to become one with nature, to simply act the right way. We have this idea of Wu Wei, let nature take its course, go with the flow, the surfer mentality that I spoke to before, and the art of doing nothing, which I'm sure some of you are really good at. All right, number 4. Man is unhappy because he lives according to man-made laws, customs, and traditions that are contrary to the ways of nature. So these man-made laws, these customs, these traditions, they conflict with the way, or the way things are supposed to happen naturally. So you don't want to conflict with nature. It's never a good thing. To escape the social, political, and cultural traps of life, one must escape by, number 1, rejecting formal knowledge and learning. So yeah, no school for you guys, sorry. It's over. No, just kidding. You have to go to school. Number 2, relying on the senses and instincts. So rely on your senses. Okay, rely on your instincts. I tell you guys, when you take a test, usually the first answer you come up with, it's most likely the right one. Pay attention to your senses. Pay attention to your instincts. If you're walking around at night, which you shouldn't be doing, and you have, your spidey senses tingling, maybe you should hurry up and get home. Number 3, discovering the nature and rhythm of the universe. So be aware of your surroundings, not just because of people, but, look at the sky, look at the birds, look at the wind, see what's going on around you, and you'll notice things coming. Number 4, ignoring political and social laws, just not in my class, but you do if we're talking about escaping this way of life, this trap of cultural life, social, political, cultural life. No, you need to ignore political and social laws. Remember, if man created it, it is going to be flawed. That's just the way things are according to Taoism. All right, so the uniqueness of Taoism. How is a man to live in a world dominated by chaos, suffering, and absurdity? Now, according to Confucianism, we need moral order in society in order for this to happen. Legalism, ruled by harsh, punishing law. Taoism, freedom for individuals. You'll have less government and avoid uniformity and conformity. So you want differences in your society. And think about it. Really, it would be absolutely boring if everybody wore the same thing, dressed the same way, thought the same way. So it's good to not be so uniform and conform with everything else around you. Live a little, be different, be a weirdo. It's okay. All right, so let's talk about the Qin Empire. This is where we really see legalism coming to the forefront. So established China's first true empire. This is Shi Huangdi. Only 15 years did this ruler rule, and one of the reasons for it is because he was a legalist and nobody really liked him. Okay, he had a very bureaucratic administration, meaning he had a lot of helpers. Remember, China's a pretty big empire, so you need other people to help you out. Centralized control of the empire, increased military expansionism. Remember, if you want to be stronger, better legalist, you must expand continuously. Burning of books. Targeted Confucianists. Remember, if you're a legalist, you don't like the gentry. You don't like teachers. You don't want people to think for themselves. You want them to be dumb. That way they're easier to control. Buried protesters alive. Built a huge section of the Great Wall. Very profound emperor, Shi Huangdi. So here is the Qin dynasty, how much they actually ruled. So a big chunk of China there. Remember, this is the first empire. You can't expect it to be to its max boundaries at this point. All right, so Shi Huangdi, some of the great things he did, if you want to look at it like that. Standardized axle links. Now, for a lot of people, oh, yeah, he made axle links standard. Not a big deal. Actually, it is. So if you want to have trade, you have to remember that these carts going to and fro in the empire, they need to go on a road. Well, if you have carts, if you have these different axle links on the carts, they're going to fall in a rut, they're going to break an axle, and you're stuck. So by standardizing this axle length, very consistent as far as trading, no more broken axles. It was very important to unite the empire and to promote trade. Standardized monetary system. This makes it a lot easier for trade also. If you get a quarter in the northern part of the empire, the quarter is going to be worth the same amount in the bottom part of the empire. Standardized written language. Now, this is just the written language. We have northern Chinese and you have southern Chinese. So Cantonese and Mandarin. They cannot speak with each other, but a written language, they can. Created the Royal Road. So this was a road, went straight to the wall from the capital to get troops to go up there to help defend the empire. Generational extinction. So remember, legalists were very harsh, or they could be harsh. So let's say you broke a law, a pretty serious law. Not only would you be killed, but your entire family. So what this really did, it promoted this idea that communities would self-police. The emperor and their law enforcement, if you will, they didn't have to bother with it, because if you broke that law and your family knew that they were going to die also because you broke this law, they're going to take care of you. Okay? So this idea of generational extinction really helped consolidate the empire. It didn't require as much manpower to police people when you have people policing themselves. We talked about built a large section of the Great Wall. This is because of the Xiongnu. So these people were the nomads from the north trying to come in. There is some debate on exactly who these people are. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later. Divisional government, so civil, military, and censorate. So civil, that would be all the day-to-day operations. You would have military. And then the censorate, of course, is making sure people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's kind of like the man, if you will. Okay, big brother. So Shi Huangdi is the emperor that created this terracotta army. Very detailed soldiers. Every single one of them has different faces. Now their bodies themselves, a lot of similarity. You'll notice that not exactly similar, all of them, but a lot of the bodies are similar. And then the heads are actually entirely different, every single one of them. So a lot of time and effort to get that done for a tomb, basically. So Great Wall with some towers. So something to think about. Shi Huangdi unified the Chinese world in part by creating a monetary system. How would this unify a region? What else might unify a region beyond just the monetary system? All right, moving along to the Han Dynasty. So 206 BCE to 220 CE. So a good chunk of time, okay? People of Han, this is what people in Chinese kind of refer themselves to. Hanran, or the people of Han. It's where we see paper being invented. Silk Road trade develops, improves life for many. Buddhism is starting to be introduced into China, changes a tad bit in comparison to the Buddhism we see in Southeast Asia, India, that area of the world. We see expansion into Central Asia. So getting larger and larger. There goes the Han. You can see the extension over here. We want protection of the Silk Road. So we do see a growth within the empire. So beginnings of the Han Empire. Liu Bong was originally a peasant. Remember the dynastic cycle. People not very happy with the current conditions. He wants to replace legalism. Kept China in provinces instead of a highly united empire. Chose government officials by merit, not by birth. So that's important. So you had to be good at what you did if you wanted to be a government official. You can't just be born into a governor, for example. So some tech during the Han. Water mills, iron casting, invention of steel. So stronger metal here. Very important for warfare, machinery, things like that. Invention of the rudder, a lot easier to sell. Particularly when you sail into the wind, that's referred to as tacking, so you kind of zigzag into the wind instead of getting pushed around by the wind. Pretty slow going, but a lot easier to get back where you just came from instead of being stuck somewhere. So being able to sail into the wind, very important. Okay. All right. So some stuff for you to think about. I want you to think about, what's your philosophy in life? Are you a legalist? Confucius, Taoist, a Buddhist? Now, when I say this, I don't want you to just, I'm a Taoist because I want to just kind of go with the flow and do nothing, the art of nothing. No, okay? It depends on what drives you. Do people need to tell you what to do? Like a legalist, this iron fist saying, okay, make your list, this is what you got to do, blah, 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 blah. Okay? Are you more of like a Confucius, where family connections are the most paramount for you? Or are you a Taoist? You kind of know what you need to do in order to live your life, okay? So it's entirely up to you. There's not one that's better than the other. It's just the way you work, okay? We all work differently. So if you come from like a very militaristic background, maybe your dad or your mom was in the military, they might have more of a legalist view where, they want order in their life. All box needs to be checked. All their ducks are in a row. There's nothing wrong with that, So, don't think that you don't necessarily fall in there. So, pick your way of thought. The page number I want this is going to be different. So I'm just going to delete this. It'll be on the board. So make sure you check it out on the board where I want your philosophy of life. So remember, pick one and back it up. Always give personal examples. Always back up what you're saying. Defend your answer. All right, you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye now.